Thank you very much for joining us for our breakout session. Embracing the future of publishing with Cactus AI solutions. So I hope you all are having a good time here in Portland. Yeah, so I did have written on here, great to have a full room. So we're going to pretend it's a full room. So just, all right, excellent, great. I'm glad you guys are all in on it. So what is Cactus? So Cactus is a global technology company. We develop and provide editorial and author services, as well as science communication and AI solutions. We have been serving researchers, publishers, and societies for the past 21 years through a variety of services via human experts and technology. Our AI solutions include Preflight, Mind the Graph, and our Discovery. All these products are meant to benefit and support authors and editors throughout the publication journey. So who are we? By the way, this is probably the best picture you'll ever see of me ever, and I use it everywhere. So I'm Jay Patel. I'm the head of business development, and I'm based out of the great state of New Jersey. I know all of you know New Jersey because you probably drive through it, but I actually live there. This gentleman right here, I don't know if you want to stand up. There you go. This is Nishchay Shah, and he's our chief of technology and head of products. And we're glad that he's able to join us all the way from Mumbai. So thank you for being here. All right. So the key take-home message from our little session here today is really on how we can leverage AI to address the challenges faced by the publishing industry now. It's not a question of the future. It's happening right now, and we need to address it, and we need to be ready for all the changes that are coming. Before we get into Nishchay's presentation, I just wanted to share with you some of the stuff from the polling. So thank you very much for everyone who filled out the polls. A vast majority of people have tried ChatGPT, which I'm not surprised because it is a lot of fun. A little scary, but also a lot of fun. And from the first impressions that people shared, definitely things like interesting, intriguing, exciting, impressive stand out. But my personal favorite, somebody wrote in meat grinder. So I'm not sure who in here wrote meat grinder, but I love it. And that's what I'm going to use from now on. On my LinkedIn profile, it's going to say meat grinder. And then when we look at how you believe AI is going to change the industry, a few of you said negatively, which is not surprising because there are some negative consequences of AI. Most of you said to be determined, while the rest said positively. What we're hoping for is that after our session today, you see that AI can be applied positively to the publication industry. I'm going to hand it off to Nishchay now, and he's going to go through a few challenges that are faced by the industry today.
Okay, thanks, Jay. So before I move on to the next thing, I just want to talk about AI because everyone's talking about AI, so why not us? The last couple of years in AI have been really exciting. We've been working in AI for the last 5-6+ years, I believe, starting from smaller models to a larger model, failing multiple times and perfecting certain models now. And especially last 6 months have been super exciting because, because of ChatGPT. ChatGPT came out and it added a conversational layer, which helped a lot of non-technical folks explore AI. And that's how, I see LinkedIn posts, Reddit posts. There are a lot of Discord servers full of ideas on how to use ChatGPT. There are a lot of prompt engineers that have sprouted up. Even my Instagram is hijacked with ChatGPT. I'm looking for cat pictures, but I see ChatGPT. So yeah, and a lot of good use cases. People have seen and used ChatGPT for a lot of good use cases. what unfortunately that also has done is has given a lot of misconceptions about AI. There are a lot of confusion about AI, a lot of myths, and most importantly, there are a lot of concerns around AI. And at the both ends of spectrum, there is a concern at one end, which is like AI is the next God, and then there's a concern which says, okay, fine, AI is not that good. So given that we have experience in AI, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share some of my opinion on where what are the misconceptions and what really is the truth behind it. So, oops, I don't know what I did. Okay, so one of the biggest myths that we see is that, hey, AI is here. It's a new age of AI. It's going to replace humans. It's going to bring humanity to its knees. And before I address that, it's important to know that there are three different flavors of AI, or three different evolution steps of AI. One is the artificial narrow intelligence, which is ANI. Then you've got the general intelligence, which is AGI, and the next one is super intelligence. And what narrow intelligence is it's essentially weak AI. This is the AI which is trained to do one thing and one thing really well, as you see Siri or Cortana or Google Maps or even ChatGPT, which is a generative text. It does that one thing really well. It cannot reason. It cannot make judgments. The next stage of AI is general intelligence. And this is the whole Terminator Skynet stage where, where AI achieves sapience. AI achieves, there's a strong AI. It understands how to reason. It understands how to make judgments and also replicate knowledge. So the AI can take knowledge from one area and replicate to a second area. And the last stage of AI, or the next stage of AI, is what we call super intelligence, which is purely theoretical. But this is the stage of Terminator. This is a stage of Matrix and whatnot, where AI actually achieves sentence. It goes beyond human creativity. It can do things which even humans today cannot perceive to do, cannot think of doing. And where we are today, right? We are at the general intelligence stage, and we are way far from reach. Sorry, my bad. I hope that doesn't come true anytime soon. We are at a narrow intelligence stage, and we are way far to go to a general intelligence. And right now there is enough advancements happening. When we sit here, look back 6 months, 8 months, we feel, oh my God, this is huge. AI has changed so many things, but it's a peak. It has gone to a peak, and there is a lot of learning to be done. But still, we are at a narrow intelligence phase where we can use tools like ChatGPT, Firefly, and many more to get one set of stuff, one set of work done. So continuing from the next last one, the next misconception that I see all the time, and even with my friends who are in banking, who are in other industries, even beyond academia, there is a lot of fear that, oh my God, ChatGPT is here, OpenAI is here. They have made a huge wave. Everyone's talking about one thing, which is just ChatGPT. And when people talk about AI, they equate it to ChatGPT. And then the concern is that, okay, ChatGPT is going to come, is here, and it's going to monopolize the AI market, and that's about it. But as I said earlier, right, all ChatGPT did is make it easier for all of us to access AI. They don't have anything drastically new. They don't have a moat. They don't have data that they own, neither the practices that they own. What they did well is create essentially a global hackathon, right? They put out a conversational layer and say, hey, go use it, figure out how to use it, tell us how to use it. We'll use all your data that you're using it for, train our systems, make it better. So if you look at this evolutionary tree, this was a paper published just a while ago, and they did this whole evolution of LLMs. What ChatGPT essentially is a language model. And if you look at it, each of these bubbles represent a single language model. And us at Cactus, we started our language model, our AI services around 2019, 2020, and we've been leveraging a lot of these foundational models, as they call it, which is T5, BERT, and more. And GPT, which is T means transformer, is actually based on some of these models. If you look at it, right, in the whole vast universe of all the models that are out there that actually does really good work, OpenAI or GPT just contains, few of them. And today we are in 2023, and fortunately, yes, all thanks to ChatGPT for making it all famous. What has happened is, researchers from Stanford, researchers from MIT, researchers from a lot of companies like Google, Meta, and more, they are creating their own language models. They are creating open language models, which we can use. In literally every few weeks, we see a new language model coming out. So basically what I'm trying to say here is that, in the next 3 to 6 months, we will see that. And some of these models actually that are coming out now have shown really good promise. And while none of them are really as good as GPT-4 today, I personally feel that in the next 3 to 6 months, there will be enough models which will be similar or maybe even better than GPT-4, and neither OpenAI nor Microsoft nor Google, for that matter, will have any mode. Yeah, and so those are the concerns from one side of the spectrum. If you go to the other side of the spectrum, where there are naysayers, where they say, hey, while AI is great, it's good for fun, but given all the hallucinations, Chad, given all the privacy conversations, given all the conversations around how it doesn't have enough data, it doesn't have enough use case in academia. But what I would say here is that a tool is as good as the human who's using it, right? And it's not that AI is new. We've used AI in our lives a lot. Weather forecasting, for instance, it uses millions of data points in real time to calculate the next possible weather pattern. Google Maps, Apple Maps, any maps, we've seen GPS maps. It calculates traffic and many other data points to talk about to predict what your trip is going to be like. And lastly, this is my personal favorite, where image recognition is being used in Africa to detect poachers and protect the herd of elephants by drone. So basically, if we have enough understanding of AI, we understand its limitations, we can really use it well. Moving on to our industry. So our industry is currently, and at a cusp, it is facing a lot of challenges. There is a lot of pressure to reduce the publication time. There is the whole transition to open access. And obviously with AI, there's deceptive practices, paper mills, and all of this plus new geographies, AI actually being used for good, making life easier. There will be a huge increase in volume. So how are we leveraging it? So Cactus has worked on a lot of AI stuff ourselves. We've created products like our Discovery, Mind the Graph that Jay spoke about. And in addition to that, we also have a set of tools that were created that can be used on the publisher side, on the author side, to improve the industry. So Jay is going to come and talk about that. Jay.
Excuse me. So the use of AI at Cactus is not something new. We've been doing it probably for 7 or 8 years now. The current generation of products that we have are probably maybe the 3rd or 4th generation of products that we've released over the past 8 years. And one of the most exciting ones is a solution called Preflight. And as Nishchay pointed out, how do we address those challenges that he mentioned? And the way Preflight really addresses some of those challenges is that we're using various different large language models and a lot of training data in order to make Preflight properly check submissions at the pre-submission stage, but then also at the post-submission stage. And it helps reduce the time it takes for authors in the submission process. It helps reduce the time it takes editors to evaluate which one of these submissions are we going to push forward into peer review, and which one of these are we going to send back to the author for further refinement. And so it does about 35 plus checks, everything from looking at ethics, acknowledgements, IMRAT statements, all the way to grammar and language. And we actually did a we did a study that was published as a poster at the peer review Congress. And what we took papers and we put it into 3 different groups. One was no check at all, one was a basic check, and the other was a premium check. What we found was even with the basic check, we were able to reduce rejection rates from 34% to about 20%. And then with premium checks, we were able to bring it all the way down to 7%. So a tool like this can be very helpful for both authors and editors. And it can vastly improve the quality of the submission and reduce your rejection rates. Okay. So as Nishchay said, ChatGPT, generative AI in general is taking over all of our feeds. It's all over the place. And, in all honesty, we've also read that there are researchers and technologists that have used these tools to generate complete papers and to actually get papers that are pretty well sounding, but on closer look, you figure out that they're not really that great. And the issue here is, as these models develop further and further, more people are going to utilize them. And so what we did was we went back and we said, well, why can't we write a paper using this? So we wrote one, and yes, a lot of fun. And then we ran it through pre-flight. And when we did run it through pre-flight, a few serious red flags did come up. And so I'm just going to go through a little bit about that. Some of the issues that came up was that the abstract was too short. The other thing that came up is it's not properly structured. And definitely, I think your very talented editors could pick this out too. But as volumes increase, their time is going to be stretched thin. And this is where I think pre-flight can really help with some of these early checks. We also found that there were issues found in the language quality and readability, as well as the famous references with no citations, or citations that don't really exist in the real world, except in hallucinations. And then we also found missing ethics statements. We all know that that's one of the core requirements of publishing a paper is you need an ethics statement. And also IMRAD models, it doesn't follow it. So it's very important, of course, to check all these things. And that's what pre-flight does. All right. Now for this was the thing that we were really excited, and Pablo, who our colleague Pablo, is super excited about this, but we all are. One of the newest things that we are releasing for pre-flight is a AI detector, and it's going to be released soon. And the way it's going to use multiple language models in order to determine if an article was actually written using AI, and how much of that article was written using AI. And we really do look forward to testing this and to showing this exciting new feature and to getting your feedback. Some of the other things that we're looking to bring out or roll out, and this is on our roadmap, are going to be ways to evaluate novelty, scope, methods, article type, retraction and reference checks, as well as detecting fabricated text and images. And as we know, AI will keep evolving. We will keep evolving, this service along with as the large language models evolve. And we hope to keep meeting the challenges of the future within the publishing industry. All right. Now the key question is, how do we deploy pre-flight? Do we go there? There we go. So there's really 3 ways to deploy pre-flight. One is on the pre-submission. It's author-facing, no integration required. The other is post-acceptance and automated copy editing. And the third way is to do a PaperPal pre-flight for your editorial offices. So those are really the 3 ways that we can deploy pre-flight for you on your journals. Currently, there's about 500 some odd journals that have pre-flight integrated or are utilizing it pre-flight at some level or another. And here's just some of the publishers that we work with. And our good friend Duncan was nice enough to give us a nice little comment here. He basically said when our editors first saw pre-flight in action, they were blown away. So thank you, Duncan. I don't know, he's not here, but thank you very much. And yeah, so finally, just want to wrap it up. Any questions? We're more than happy to answer. And after tonight's reception, if you all want to come out, we're going to be doing a Beyond the Breakout AMA with Nishchay over at the Spoken Fork over at the Hyatt at 7 o'clock. So thank you. Any questions? I know no questions at all. Yep.
They spoke about AI detector. So I want to know, unlike plagiarism check where boundaries are very clear, in case of AI, if AI has generated something, I might repeat it, then again put it back to AI and back and forth. Sure. How are you able to detect that? How are you able to differentiate what is AI?
Absolutely. So, okay. No, that's a very good question. And as a matter of fact, when we started creating this, I was actually against it. Personally speaking, I was against it, that it doesn't make sense to detect language model. But then we realized that it's not about 100% detection. It's about, detecting certain perplexity scores of the written paper. And based on that, do a predictive analysis of this could be written by AI. As a matter of fact, what we want to do in production is not really just to use AI detector as a singular statistic. Using some of the repetitive phrases, using some of the non-novel outcomes, do a collective statistic on, or collective score on how this paper or the incoming paper should be looked at because of these issues. So that answers.
So it's not deterministic.
It's not. It cannot be deterministic, because as a matter of fact, we've seen some of the tools out there which actually say that, hey, you know what, use our tools so that you're not detected the plagiarism detectors or the AI detectors. Yes. Yes, please.
Well, maybe I can speak loudly from back here.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could say a little bit more about the novelty detection. I imagine that's quite subject matter dependent. So,
right.
Please say a little more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And novelty detection is, again, one of my personal favorites. It's something that I wanted to do 6 years ago, but I think AI was not ready to support my idea. But fortunately now it is. So what we are doing with novelty detection, it's at a very early phase. We are in a very, very early beta testing, where we're looking at, so with the product that we have, our discovery, we are collecting millions and millions of papers on a yearly basis. Almost every day we are collecting a lot of abstracts out there, a lot of open access papers out there. And we're trying to determine, and we also have a lot of publisher tabs. And using all of that, we're trying to determine what's hot, what's not, right? So we're trying to determine that in a certain cohort or in a certain subject area, sub-subject area, these are the hot topics. These are the topics that are being published a lot. And these are the topics that have long gone or aren't probably around. So that is one of the many methods that we're using to detect or to predict some kind of novelty.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just wondering, have you adopted the LLMs that are today? Are you still doing everything internally? Are you using OpenAI, the APIs? And what are the privacy issues that you're facing with your customers in terms of protecting their data?
Right. So on the edited side of the business, which is a professional services business, we are not using any public models, or any private models like ChatGPT or OpenAI. What we're using is our own model, which is built on our own data, and it's fully closed source. It is fully proprietary. But when it comes to products, we want to start using some of the models out there, but we want to stick to open source models like Llama, models like the ones that Meta and Anthropic have come up, so that
we can take those models, run it on our own system so that we don't have to keep sending data back to a third-party company. But we are testing ChatGPT. We are dabbling with that. We're dabbling with GPT-4 and a few others. Right. Right. So yeah, no, that's a good point. So in certain, so what we're doing is, so for instance, Llama or Vicuna, those are some of the models which can be used commercially. And with this right licenses, we will be getting those licenses to make sure that we are able to integrate those into our products. Actually, Llama, I'm not really sure, but Vicuna, yes, my bad. And the other thing is that there are certain models which do not contain data. They have weights, and what we can do is we can take that architecture, train it on our own data, train it on the open access data, and we definitely are looking at CC BY licenses and licenses where we can actually use the data to train the models. Yes.
What will the alert look like for the you've got an AI match?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
What will the alert look like when it comes through that there's a match to an LLM with the submission?
Match to AI detector, you mean the AI detector?
Yes, yes,
Ah,
sorry.
okay, sorry, yeah. Sorry, just too much jet lag and processing the questions. Yeah, so as I showed, right, the feature in isolation will look like that. It will take the text, it will look at the text, it will look at perplexity scores, boundary scores, and many other calculation, and it will basically say that it seems like that a large percentage or a certain percentage of the text in the text that you fed in is generated by a language model because it doesn't feel natural. So that's how it will work in isolation. But as I answered him, when we use that stat and many other in combination, we're still working on what would be the best way to showcase it, especially so that the publishers and editorial staff can make use of it. So I think in a few months we'll know better. We're going to test it out. We're going to do some, once we achieve some level of sophistication, we'll use some of our 500 journals which are already online to test that out and figure out which is the best thing that works for the editorial staff. Yeah.
So you say the data from this one is decided in your service.
Right.
Test the model.
No. So okay, let me clarify that. So none of the data that comes in from the journals that are deployed, we use it. We do not have access to data. It's fully encrypted on the servers and it gets deleted every few days. We keep the data only because it is part of our policy. In case something goes wrong, we can go back and fix it. But none of this data is ever used for any training. Right. So on the edited side, we have our freelancers who are making edits. So those are the freelancers who are, that is the data that we're using, which is the English edit data for English, for language. On the other side, like novelty and all that, we're using open access papers to determine that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so books is something that is really interesting. I think just maybe I have a long answer, but maybe I'll try and shorten it. But I think 2 years ago, when we launched pre-flight, even before the pre-flight sign, our thinking on the product side was that okay, it will work for a journal and that's how it is. But some fancy pants decided to run it on books, and hey, it worked really well. So, what we feel is that out of the box, most of our solution work really well, especially when it comes to language and all on books. But the pre-flight checks that you see are made for journal articles and a larger Venn diagram around it. We can expand it to books. We've not really looked into it right away, but if there's a use case, we can definitely do that because at least the staff that we have, editorial staff, they seem to think that just doing like 20% more work, we can actually make it work really well on the book side too. Okay, yes, last question. That's what I've been told. Okay, well, Thank you. I will be available at 7, as Jay said, and I'd love to chat AI model and definitely books with you folks. Thank you.
Thank you.